Hello everyone, welcome to Redbase Trainers channel. In this video, we'll look at the latest details on the clarification given by USCIS regarding the 100K fee for new H1B holders. So we look at what the background is, and we look at some of the things around what was clear in the past, what has changed now, all these areas. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do subscribe for getting regular updates. So here is what the news is, right? Basically what they've done is they've given an official update on their government website itself, USCIS website, where they clearly have clarified certain gray areas that were there in the past. So that's what we'll cover in detail in the next sections. So just to set everybody on the same page, right? Just to give you a background of what this proclamation is, right? So President Trump signed a proclamation on September 19th. Proclamation is nothing like an executive order, right? Basically, President has the power to sign something. So he did sign an order saying that if somebody is outside of the US and they want to come into coming to work in the US, they need to pay $100,000. And the reason he signed that is stating that the program is heavily abused by IT companies, and some companies are laying off them and then still hiring H1B workers. So again, there are a host of things that they mentioned, but that's the idea, right? So when it came out, came at a last minute and people were encouraged and all sorts of things, right? So it was effective from September 21st, 12:01 a.m. EST. And the thing was, initially there was some guidance given by USCIS as well as the Customs and Border Protection Agency, CBP. But there are few areas that are kind of gray area, right, which is not very clear. Especially like if you were to be in the US and when you travel out of the country, do you need to pay that $100,000? So that was not clear. And also there were some things were like unclear. And right now, this official documentation is much more clear than the past. I would say good 95% of them are clear, but there may be a few edge cases where we may have to some gray areas, right? So without further ado, let's look at it one by one, right? So who is the H1B? Who is the $100,000 fee applicable to, right? So it applies to all new H1B petitions that are filed on or after 12:01 a.m. on September 21st. So essentially, these are applicable to all petitions filed by such applicants who are outside of the US and do not have a valid visa. So this was in the past as well that was mentioned, and it was very clear. So they've reiterated that and added in that. So as long as you do not have a valid visa or an approved petition from USCIS as of that date, then you're not, you have to pay $100,000 fee. Now, the second one is when you also submit an H1B petition to USCIS, there is sections where you do something called consular notification, port of entry, notification, pre-flight inspection. So what these are essentially, like let's say somebody is applying for an H1B outside of the US, or maybe you are in the US but you don't want to do a change of status. In that cases, there are three boxes, essentially check boxes on the I-129 form, where you check this thing and tell, I want a consular notification. Essentially what it tells is, okay, I'm going to go for stamping in XYZ consulate, be it at a consulate or an embassy in India or outside of India, wherever that is, right? Outside of US essentially, right? So that's what they will mention when you're applying for consular notification. The second one is port of entry notification. Like let's say you are going to exit the country and re-enter at a particular port of entry, then you could select that port of entry notification. That's where you get the I-94 issued and your status is decided as H1B at that time, right? And the third one is pre-flight inspections. So these are not essentially port of entry locations directly, but these are essentially like that function similar to a port of entry. Like for example, Abu Dhabi, right? Abu Dhabi has something called a pre-flight inspection, where a CBP officer would inspect and do all the process of CBP. Typically, that is done at port of entry, and then you are entering at the port of entry without any of the documentation or checking again. So these are three categories. So what they're telling is when you apply for an H1B petition, right, you can select one of these which are usually like if you want to get out of the country and get inside US, right? So if you select any of these and apply after September 21st, right, then you are going to be applicable for this fee. So that's what it means. So the other part where it's applicable is if you're filing for an extension or a change of status or or an amendment, any of these, right, and you are within the US and filed after 21st 12:01 a.m., right, And if USS categorizes them as ineligible, so ineligible is something they categorize. Let's say you did not maintain your status, right? That is categorized ineligible. Or let's say you applied for it and then you depart the US for whatever reason. You applied for a change of status and then you exit the country without a decision. Then these are all classified as ineligible by them, right? So that's what they mention as well, right? So in such cases, if you depart the country before a decision, or if it's categorized ineligible, then you have to pay the $100,000 fee. So that is another place where it is applicable, right? So what you see on the screen is the actual real text that appears on the USCIS website. We'll put a link in the description for the article, which has all these screenshots and all of them. You can go over them in detail as well, right? So that's what it is, right? So now that we understand who it's applicable to, now let's look at who it does not apply to, right? So who the 100,000 fee is not applicable to is if you are an existing H1B holder before September 21st and you have an approved petition or you have a valid visa stamp before that particular date, right? Then you don't need to pay that money, right? $100,000 fee. And also you don't have any travel restrictions as such, right? You can travel back and forth as long as you have all of these things valid. So this 100,000 fee does not apply to you. So this was anyways clear in the past. Now the other one that was not clear in the past is let's say you're an applicant who are in the US. You applied for an H1B petition using a change of status or transfer, whatever, at all of these categories. And then if say USCIS approves such petition, then you don't have to pay that $100,000 fee. And the thing that was not clear was the travel part, right? So this is where they clarify, telling that if you have an approved H1B petition and then you can travel abroad and get a visa stamping done without paying $100,000 fee. So basically this is telling that this was the gray part in the past, and you're free to travel and re-enter normally after stamping. That is what they mean. So this is something that was clarified with them. This is, I would say, the crux of the biggest change, right? That changed. Now in terms of again on the screen you can see what the actual text looks like, right? You can read that in detail as well. Now, how do you pay that fees, right? So if you just to take a step back, right, what they've done is they have really taken the processing or the payment of the fee completely to USCIS side and nothing to Department of State, so that it makes easier for them, right? So now they also mentioned how to pay the fee, right? You have to pay before you submit the H1B petition. You need to pay that money and then take that proof of payment and submit, along with the petition. So they've given a link, pay.gov, where you can see all of that process, right? So if you need to pay that money and then you don't submit that proof of payment, then they'll deny that. Also, that's pretty clear, right? So that's what they say. Now, in terms of again, there are no refunds as such, right? If you pay the money, it's gone. That's it. They haven't given any chance of refund or anything as such. So that's how it is, right? So what we don't know is, let's say you pay $100,000 and if your petition is denied, then do you get the money back? I don't think so. Looks like it is not clear at the moment. So, but I'm assuming it's not going to be refunded, right? That's the assumption we're making. So again, might be wrong. So we need to double check on that. So there are some exceptions that they provide. So the exceptions are, if you pay $100,000 fee. If you want to get exception for the $100,000 fee, right? There are certain exceptions where the Secretary of the Homeland Security can give exceptions. So what they say is if the person is of national interest and there is no American worker available for that, and also there is no security risk. So if all of these meet, then they actually may give this exception. You have to submit these requests to a certain email at h1bexceptions@hq.dhs. So these are done on a case-by-case basis, and they say these are extraordinarily rare, which means probably next to none, right? And there is no blanket exceptions for doctors, or researchers or professors. So all of them have to pay. There is no exceptions as such here, which is something, strange, but that's what it is, right? So again, there is a court lawsuit happening. We'll see what will come out of that, right? So again, USA describes this as extraordinarily rare. So we'll have to see how this will pan out. Now that it's kind of, understand the overall crux of it, right? There are some things that are, common FAQs, right? So let's look at them quickly, right? So does it apply to renewals, H1B renewals? If you're applying for renewals within the US, not. But if you're outside of the US, then it is applicable to you. For example, somebody has an H1B approved and, they come out of the country and let's say they want to transfer to a new employer when outside of the country, then, you have to pay, unfortunately. That's the big part, right? Or there are scenarios where you have an approved I-140 and you're applying for a cap exempt H1B now. But unfortunately, if you're outside of the US, what is the situation, right? So if you're applying for anything from outside of the US, it is applicable to you. So the blanket statement is, if you're outside of the US, then this applies to you, right? So it doesn't matter you had a status in the past or not. The third most important one is, if you're an F1 student in the US and applying for a change of status for the next upcoming season, does it apply to you? No, it does not. If you're applying for change of status and within the US, again, you cannot exit the country when that is in process. Important part, when you're applying for change of status, if you exit, then you're going to lose that as well. Then you have to pay the money, right? Again, if you are already in H1 or L2 holder and applying for change of status, does it apply to you, right? So this is not applied to you as long as within the US. So all in all, right, this fee is applicable for somebody who is outside the US only. That is the key takeaway. And if you're in the US and if you apply when you're in the US, then it is not applicable to you. So that's the blanket statement, right? So again, we'll see as things move on, right? There is also a lawsuit happening parallelly. There is no new update on that. We'll keep you posted on if anything moves on that, right? How things pan out. So again, thank you for watching. Thank you for your time. Do subscribe for getting regular updates. I will keep you posted on how things go.